Hello, and welcome to this special episode of The Switch. My name is Lindsay Otto, Nonprofit HR's Marketing and Communication Associate for Editorial and Content, and I am so excited about today's episode, where we will hear from another excellent woman named to Nonprofit HR's 2023 Social Impact Women to Watch list. For a bit of background about this campaign, each year during Women's History Month, Nonprofit HR proudly recognizes women across North America who have made significant contributions to nonprofits, to associations, foundations, social enterprises, and the communities that they serve. This special series of The Switch features the 24 finalists named to this year's list due to their extraordinary leadership, unwavering dedication, and really impactful achievements. In this episode, Atokatha Ashman Brew, our Managing Director for Marketing and Strategic Communication, sits down with Paula Thompson, Executive Director for the organization Voices for a Second Chance. They catch up and learn more about Paula's stellar contributions to the sector. Paula Thompson is an experienced leader, visionary, and consensus builder with 20 plus years of progressive leadership and effectiveness working in executive management. United with a passion for equity, human rights, and advancing social justice issues, Paula creates opportunities for vulnerable populations through comprehensive service delivery, community engagement, and public and private collaborations. She is skilled in nonprofit management, advocacy, policy, resource and organizational development, community engagement, and strategy and program implementation. I welcome you to share this production in your communities. You can find this recording at nonprofithr.com/The Switch, as well as anywhere you get your podcasts. And without further ado, here's Atokatha and Paula.
Well, hello, Paula Thompson.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Congratulations again on being a Woman to Watch finalist for 2023.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor.
We are so very excited for all of the finalists this year, Paula, and it is my honor to interview you for this series, this special podcast series that we produce every year for Women to Watch. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Can you take a moment to talk a little bit about yourself and maybe share a little about your organization as well?
Sure. I'll lead with my organization first because I like talking about that more than myself. But the organization I'm privileged to lead is Voices for a Second Chance. We're in Washington, D.C., and we have been doing this work since 1969. And we were founded as Visitor Services Center by a group of committed volunteers, and that work has expounded over the decades. And because of that, the name was changed about 7 years ago to Voices for a Second Chance because it most closely aligned with the work that we do, and that is to provide a bridge to our men and women of the district who have been impacted by incarceration or who have been involved in the criminal justice system in some aspect. And we want to be that bridge to help see and reimagine a new life post-incarceration. And so we do that in various ways where our work is broken out into 4 components. And the first is the first responder, which is the work that we do pre-release when individuals during their incarceration, rather. And then the second phase is our Welcome Home Center, the building that we occupy. We call it our Welcome Home Center. It's where individuals come when they're released from jail and prison, from things that are basic as helping them secure their identification through a birth certificate and social security card. But that builds on into their human needs and those essential needs, which is housing, employment, mental and physical treatment. And we create a case plan, which is a partnership, developing goals based on where the individual wants to go as they move their life forward. And then the third component is moving towards stability. And that gives us the unique opportunity to provide hotels, for instance, for a short period of time for our clients that are homeless as we're helping them achieve those goals, which is finding a safe house or home or just some shelter space for them to live and thrive and begin to rebuild and again, reimagine their lives. And then the third component, which is important, is our community of voices. And that is where we do advocacy training and helping empower our clients to use their voice to impact change. So I see it as a partnership. We affect change from our space as providers and supporters, and then building and supporting and helping them strengthen their voice to become advocates themselves. So that is the work that we do here. And we've worked with tens of thousands of people throughout the 5 decades that we've been doing this work. I've been here for 1 decade. And so I'm proud of that. And what led me to this work is that I was in the corporate world initially, and I have been a lobbyist. I've been in management. I've done public policy, but I always volunteered. And I come from a family where community was centered and giving back was centered, and that you use your education and your passion to make sure that you're moving your community forward. And so that's the genesis of who I am. And I transitioned into the nonprofit world from doing some volunteer work. I was impassioned to make a change and make a difference, but I wanted to be in community doing that. And so that's how I came into this world. And that mass incarceration is an important issue because it's impacted primarily individuals that look like myself. And I have had friends and family members who have been touched by the criminal justice system. And so I've always had a passion for justice in that way. And so when the opportunity came to lead Voices for a Second Chance, it was a no-brainer for me to join this organization.
Thank you so much for that, Paula. I'm just holding space right now for all that you just shared. The mission that you all are working toward is so very beautiful, and it's so very essential. And so I just want to thank you for that work that you're doing, dedicating a portion of your career to those who need it so very much. So, thank you for that. What would you say is the most important thing you've learned as a leader in this space?
I would say the lack of humanity that is really extended to people who are in such vulnerable spaces in their life. I've witnessed people who just one choice, right, or one opportunity that was not availed to them, that they make a decision that leads them down this path. And so for me, that's centered in the work that I do. And that is how I lead my team, that we are a non-judgment zone. We lead and we apply humanity and compassion in all that we do. And I will say this, that the one action that we do every day when an individual walks through our door is that we offer a beverage. We ask you, are you hungry? How can we serve you? That just brings down the wall, because so many people that walk through our door are used to myths, they're used to stereotypes, and they're used to being profiled. For them to be able to walk in here and really feel like, oh, right, when they sit down, when we serve them. And then we move into the space of the conversation about how can we help you? What do you want to do? We move from there. And so for me, I wake up with that every day. And I see people in this space doing this work who sit in judgment, who are really not looking at how can I use my space, my work to affect change and to really demonstrate to someone how they can rebuild their lives.
Thank you again, Paula. I'm still just here vibrating with so much appreciation for your mission. And I can only imagine, as you were talking about someone walking through your doors and you all asking, how can we help? Are you thirsty? Would you like something to drink? Would you like something to eat? I would imagine that that's medicine for their soul.
Absolutely, it is. Most of our clients are homeless, and so they may opt to sleep on the street because the shelters are not safe for them. And they're not wanting to harm anyone. They're just wanting some help. We're not asking for you to just give me anything, but can you just provide me some support so I can move forward? And so I just think there's so many misnomers when people will just pass by, right? They just pass by individuals every day who are in pain, who are suffering, and everyone has a backstory. Everyone. We've had people who have very little literacy to someone who has been highly educated, right? But they have fallen in a space where they need support. And so when you just show humanity, and I can't stress that enough, just basic humanity, how are you today?
Yeah.
How can we serve you today? It
Mm.
just breaks it down. And then you're able to really get to the root of things and then say, okay, we're just going to take this chip by chip and help you move this forward. And
Yeah.
when someone feels like they are a part of their own solution, it is empowering. But I get upset when I hear these narratives that are created about the population that we serve because I'm seeing them every day. I'm seeing them every day.
Yeah. You've touched on, quite a few things. And I'm wondering how you bring others along or mobilize others, including your people that
Mhm.
work with you and for you and
Mhm.
your colleagues or, partners out there in the community, other members, other stakeholders, perhaps, politicians and others who have some power and can really help to move your mission forward to support those in the houselessness community and, those who need help as a result of serving time and now wanting to reacclimate themselves in society and move their lives forward. One of the things that I really love that you said was, sometimes it was a one-time thing or it was a mistake. It was a short period of time in which a person may have made a decision that, put them in the justice system. And now, they're wanting to get back on that path. And it takes a community to help them. What
Absolutely.
have you found to be effective in engaging others with you on this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. What I found effective is I've always been a team approach person, right? Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. But when I came into this space specifically, what I witnessed was disrespect, sort of a crab in the barrels mentality, and a very dismissive attitude and response to the needs of this population and this community. And so I felt it was important that I mobilize people who had a shared interest and a shared perspective on changing what was going on out there and really being effective in not only changing policy, changing minds, changing hearts, because I think that's critical when you want to advance solutions for a particular focus. And so one of the things that I did was I mobilized colleagues in this space to say, there's not enough funding. We know what the needs are because we're on the ground. I founded what's called the DC Reentry Action Network here in the district, and it's made up of 30 organizations. We started with 9, and today we have 30 reentry organizations that are focused on the advancement of issues impacting justice involved and returning citizens. And so I found that was critical because I think everyone was talking at each other. They were in competition instead of collaboration. And so I felt that it was important that we came together. Now, we didn't always agree around everything, but I'm a strategic thinker. And so I'm always like, what are the things we can get behind? If it's 1 or 2 issues, let's do that. And so one of the first things we had to do is that we had to inform, we had to educate. We went about the way of educating policymakers and decision makers and the political landscape here to really provide for them the profile of who it is that we're serving and why they need the supports that they do. And so we were able to increase funding in the city specifically for this population. We were able to get the first funding for reentry specific housing. And that was key because for many, many years, the population was just ignored.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a narrative that was created. And so that's a very proud achievement of mine. And I continue to co-chair that along with another colleague of mine. But it is important that we always come armed with the facts. It is critical. And we were able to do that. And because we were able to do that, we garnered the respect. And then those who maybe were apprehensive about joining, they found that there is value in community, right? There's value in community to move things forward. And it wasn't just my colleagues, it was also those clients of ours or those impacted individuals to come to the table and be a part of this movement as well. That was one of the things that I did. I will also say that my team is made up of more than 50% of individuals with lived experience, because I feel that it is important that you have people involved in the work who have lived the work. We have had careers, we have had education in certain spaces, but I think that authenticity, and it challenges me as well to think about the work different. I may be thinking, oh, I think this is what's needed. And one of my team members will say, no, not really, because this is really what's going on out there. And it's like, okay, let's have it. That's my approach. And that's how I see this work, and how to really mobilize and get people involved in it, get invested in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just great. We do an annual diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice survey. And one of our questions is, does your membership or does your staff reflect the community you serve? That's a needle that organizations are, desperately seeking to move forward for themselves. It's not easy. And so the fact that you've been able to accomplish that, I applaud you for that, because it definitely makes your solutions that much more relevant.
It does.
It's not just, guessing at whether or not this is really going to be impactful or meaningful. Just kudos to you for recognizing that importance and being actively pursuant of that.
Looking to integrate talent into your mission strategic plan? During annual strategic planning, organizations often overlook what talent is needed to meet their goals. Partner with Nonprofit HR for your organization's talent management needs. We offer HR outsourcing and project-based consulting, including strategy and advisory, retained search, total rewards, and equity, diversity, inclusion, and justice. We also offer customized trainings for your workforce. Join the many social impact organizations that have trusted Nonprofit HR to help them increase mission impact through their people. Visit nonprofithr.com.
So, Paula, you've shared a lot, and I know that there's tons of discussions around the country around the concept of recidivism. What are your thoughts on that? And is that an unbaked concept? Does it need to be explored more and brought up to terms or brought up to speed in terms of where we are now as a society?
Absolutely. And I love the way you frame that, right? So I'm going to borrow your word, unbaked. Absolutely. It is an unbaked concept. I think that it is an unfair analysis, because the way that it is measured is just who is returning to incarceration, when it's really bigger than that. We really should be looking at what are the structures that are in place that impede someone from a true reintegration post-incarceration. What are those systems that impede someone from really becoming a productive citizen? If I'm looking for employment, do I really have fair access to that job? Or unlike DC, in many places across the country, they don't have a bandbox where that prevents an employer from you having to expose your criminal record at the onset. It allows someone to really look at your skills and look at you as an individual and how you would be, I would think, a productive employee, right? But oftentimes they lead with your record in front of them, and you never get the opportunity to present yourself and your viability in being an employee. So there are different measures in place that I think should be factored in when we're looking at recidivism. We should be looking at, why is someone recidivate, right? Why do I have, for instance, a young woman or a young man who is 25 years old who have cycled in and out since they were a juvenile? Yeah. We shouldn't just be looking at them as a repeat offender. And that's language that I don't use, but that's language that research uses. And that is because they don't fully understand the population that they're measuring, that they only use them as measuring subjects. And I mean that specifically and intentionally as subjects, but not as humans. And what happens is that these think tank and research organizations who get millions of dollars to study a group that they would not even engage on the street. So that plays a role in the research and the narratives that are created, that are reported, that are published, and what are used to create systems policies. So if the individuals who are actually like myself, who do this work on the ground, and the people that I serve never are asked to sit at that table, then how can we change anything? And so that's why when I hear recidivism, it's like, so what are you measuring? What are the factors? The way we measure success, if an individual, their goal may be that I want to gain a marketable skill so that I can not only take care of myself, I can take care of my family. And I think we oftentimes forget about the population being part of a family.
Yeah.
When that person is absent from the family, it impacts it.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at different ways on how not only the individual that we're working with and those goals, how they're going to help them, but also how is it going to improve the family dynamic. For us, being able to not be rearrested, not violate their probation, because many people come home, they're still on supervised probation,
Yes.
and there are restrictions there. We're looking at how are you staying in compliance across the board. That's why I say that how recidivism is measured, it needs to be expanded, because there are little successes along the way that we are seeing and we're experiencing, just to say that, oh, they went back to jail, but why did they return to incarceration?
Right.
What were those factors? What was going on before that happened? What were they doing while they were home? So we are impacting recidivism in a way because our programming is tailored for the individual. It's individual centered. And so we're not doing a broad stroke approach and say, because these are our phases and these are our best practices, that it's going to apply to everyone that walks through the door. That is not the case. We see everyone from the age of 18 and above. So we have individuals who have done months in incarceration. And I think the person we've had who's done 52 years. So imagine 52 years of your life incarcerated. You return home to a world you don't recognize.
No matter how many times people tell you when you are serving what's going on, you're watching it on television, you may be reading it in the news, there's nothing like being on the outside and seeing it for yourself. You just can't imagine. So if you went in 50 some odd years ago, oh my God, so how do you even acclimate?
It's a challenge, but you know what? The individual is so committed to making it, right? If this is the life I have left, I want to make sure that it is impactful. And despite what people believe, most of the clients that we work with, when they come home, they want to figure out how they can be a part of the solution. How can I use my experience incarcerated, the negative pieces of it, the positive piece of it, in the sense of understanding the system that they're in and how not to return to it. So it's powerful work. It's impactful. We're seeing people who went in as juveniles and they're coming back home as 40-year-old men. Who we serve are predominantly African-American men.
I was going to ask you that, Paula. I was going to ask you about the population that you're primarily serving. And are you working primarily with the district, or are you also supporting surrounding jurisdictions such as Southern Maryland, Northern Virginia, et cetera?
Yes. So our primary population are district residents, right? However, because you know where we're located.
DMV, right?
DMV, right? And so we are seeing people from all of the jurisdictions. And the unique thing about DC is the fact that it doesn't have its own prison. And so our residents are shipped across the country. So we have clients who are as far as California. We know that family support is critical to someone being able to successfully reintegrate. Well, if you can't see your family often, because many of the individuals come from the most impoverished areas in the city, then that's another hindrance. But we see primarily African-American men. And so we see the impact when they're not in community, when they're not, being able to be a parent, when they're not able to be a partner or a spouse or a son or a sibling, the impact of that on the family. It's natural that sometimes our work extends to the family. That's a long answer.
Yeah, but I love it. Thank you so much for the context.
You're welcome.
To help people understand the complexity of that concept, because I think some people think it's very, cut and dry. You return back to society, somebody helps you, you have a better life, you don't go back. And it's really not that simple.
Not.
And so, I appreciate you, for sharing that. It just came to mind to me as you were talking, that it takes a certain type of individual, a certain type of workforce to work alongside you when serving a population that is so very vulnerable in terms of their ability to plug back into society. How do you approach the hiring process, the selection process? What are you looking for when it comes to talent for your mission?
I love that question. I don't think I'm asked that question enough. What I'm looking for is authenticity. What I'm looking for is a fire of change, a fire of, I want to be a part of my community elevation. I'm looking for two types of people, right? I'm looking for people with lived experience who have gone through incarceration, have been impacted by it. I'm looking for professionals who are skilled in conflict resolution, mental health, who approach it not from a textbook or a case study, but from a passion where there's a burning, I got to be a part of this, because I tell everyone that I'm interviewing that this is not a job. So if you're looking for a job, this is not the place for you. But if you're looking to make an impact in the community that you can feel, see, and touch, and if you're looking for a space to evolve, this is for you. This is the place to be. But if you're not, bless you. And there are other spaces and organizations that can utilize your talent. And that is what I'm looking for in a talent pool. It has to be a mix.
Thank you very much. And there's nothing wrong with celebrating someone on to their next career adventure. So it's a good thing that you're able to do that on the front end. I'm sure that, saves a lot of heartache, especially I'm sure your mission can feel heavy at times considering some of the stories. What do you do to keep your people uplifted?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Make sure that they are taking their leave. I try to do wellness activities, whether it's bringing someone in who can, do some motivational things with them. And then sometimes just closing the office, just letting someone, we could have a heavy case and then you can feel it and just saying, you know what, we want to come in tomorrow. Just take some moments. And I just really try to encourage people to not push down that, but to really surface it. One of the other things is that, people have their wellness or counseling or therapy sessions during the day, right?
That's wonderful.
If you need to do that, then you take the time to do it. It's not do it on your lunch hour. That's your time. Then you do it. And I think that's important. I really do. I think it's important because it's honoring the fact that this work, it can be very challenging, right? It can be tough, but it's also honoring. We're saying that we're extending humanity to our clients. Well, we have to extend it to each other. And so I think it's important that they know they can do that. I just try to continue to create opportunities. And then I also ask them, how can I support you? What is it that you need for your wellness as well?
I love that. So you're asking and you're also providing at the same time. And that's just wonderful. And I just have goosebumps right now thinking about the work that you all are doing. And I'm just wondering what your greatest hope for your mission is, and how do you see yourself and your team bringing that to fruition?
Yeah, my greatest hope is maybe one day we'll go out of business because we won't have Black and brown people, specifically Black people, because they look like me, that are incarcerated and destroyed in a way. Parts of them. One of my greatest is to dismantle the bias. And the bias extends across not only individuals and how they view the clients that we serve, but also the funding community, the corporate community, who have a bias for missions such as mine, right? And who also, and I'll go even further, have a bias with Black-led leadership, particularly Black-led leadership that's effective and impactful. That is something that I would like to see be dismantled. One of the other things is that I would like to see my organization grow into other locations because I know our work works, right? And I know that's a double negative, but I know it does, right? In community. We're in those hot spots and places. And that's why I honor my team, because they go to the tent encampments in DC where individuals are living and they have conversation. How can I get you off the street? Because many of them have been incarcerated. They have mental health issues that have gone untreated, and they have hopelessness. And one of my staff always say the one thing that we provide is we provide hope. So you know that if I have hope, I know that change could come. And I want to be in the center of that kind of change. I want to be in the center of creating lasting, sustaining change. And for me, that's what's important. I want to see us grow. Of course, I want to raise millions of dollars to do this work, because I think sometimes we're making magic, out of lemonade sometimes. That's how I feel. But I wanted the work to be honored. I want the work to be lifted in the way that we do it, because it is community work where we're really trying to change lives. And that's how we look at it, that we have lives in our hand and we want them to survive.
Thank you so much for that, Paula. I have one last question for you. There are many women out there that are, working in the trenches every day, and they may not have the honor of being nominated like you have and rise to the top of the list as a finalist. But that doesn't invalidate the work that they're doing. What do you have to say to those women?
I would say, as I mentioned to you, this was a real honor that I didn't even know that was coming. And when I've received other recognition, it's never me seeking it. It's like, oh, really? Because I'm just entrenched in the work, and I feel strongly that this is my purpose. And I would say to other women out there to stay focused on your purpose. Don't chase awards. Don't chase all of the accolades. Be focused on, if you want to be in this kind of work, you got to really be about social impact. And I love the name of it, because you are really about community. You are about community building, that you have to be about how can I affect change where I am. And I can't be afraid of my own. I got to figure out, what role can I play? And if you align yourself with your purpose, with your personal mission, this is not for everyone, but for those women who are seeking a career, I would say social impact work, social justice work, and injustice work that you're trying to make just, that be your authentic self. Seek out other individuals that you see modeling that behavior, because there are so many people out there who are doing this work, but seek them out. Watch how they do the work, but also watch how they live. How do they treat people? Just position yourself to be in spaces where you meet people who are doing this kind of work, and ask people to mentor you. I remember when I was young professional, I sought out people who I saw and said, can you mentor me? And I get people today who will ask me that same thing. But I would say, don't be discouraged, because it's not always going to be a happy day. It's going to be some days where you cry, but just live in purpose, on purpose. And I know that may sound like a cliche, but it really is not. Be intentional about that, and be intentional about covering yourself when you're doing this work.
Wow. Paula Thompson, thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Please tell everyone how they can get in contact with you. Where can they find more information about your organization?
You can go to our website, www.vscdc.org. You can call our office at 202-544-2131. And you can send me a personal email at paula@vscdc.org. And I would love to hear from you.
Again, I've been spending time with Paula Thompson, and we've been talking about her organization. You've heard her share information about where you can reach out to them. I encourage you to do so. Thank you again, Paula.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show for today. How can I affect change where I am? What role can I play? Those were the few call to actions that Paula shared with us there at the end. And wow, I am so struck by this episode, this interview, and I'm so grateful for Paula coming on to share her perspective from doing this compassionate and deeply complex and critical work. It's clear that she is using her own passion to give back. It's clear in all the work that she's doing and the way that she speaks speaks about it. And so I hope you took away something meaningful from this episode, something that stuck with you or resonated with you. And I thank you for listening to The Switch. If you're looking for more episodes of The Switch, such as more interviews with our 2023 Social Impact Women to Watch finalists, you may visit nonprofithr.com/The Switch. There you can access recordings and resources and all the things that you need to help your organization maximize its greatest asset, your people.